Is this thing on? I have no idea. Welcome to the She Does What She Wants podcast. I'm your host, Yvonne Renae Heard, and let's get into it. So today we're going to be talking about allowing things to flow into your life, going with the flow of water, right? Or being like water. So, and by the way, Yvonne Renae Heard, I am a corporate lawyer, I am a life strategist, and I get on this podcast and get on YouTube and basically help the collective get more attuned with their bodies, get more attuned with themselves, and honestly step into their true purpose and their path. And I do that by dismantling a lot of the programming that we have been taught as a society over time, right? I always say we have been sold this script, and the script has always been the way that you're supposed to live your life. We have been sold the vision of going to elementary school, going to middle school, going to high school, making good grades in high school so you can turn around and take the ACTs or the SATs, get into a good quality college because you need to get into this college to pay your bills, to get a job as an adult. And then you turn around and you find the job, and then you find another job, and you find another job, and you just keep building this ladder until you get to a point where maybe you're somewhat comfortable with the money that you're making so that you can live a mediocre life, or a life that is kind of is programmed, honestly. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with those things in a vacuum. There's nothing wrong with those things, but we have been inherently sold this script for an extremely long time. And now that we are where we are in the world, it's 2026, Pluto is in Aquarius, things in this world are shifting. I think people's ideas and ideals about how they want to live their life are shifting in mass. And I'm here to talk about things to break away from the script, things to break away from the script that have been sold to us for years and years and years and years down the road. And so this episode is going to be talking about going with the flow and why going with the flow is a part of breaking the script and why it is so incredibly important. Now, when I say go with the flow, I don't mean just sit back and do nothing and allow life to happen to you. That's not what I'm saying. There's a process to this. There's a procedure to this. There's a way that you have to maneuver these waters. However, the first point is that we as human beings are made up of predominantly water, okay? We're getting ready to enter into Cancer season. I am a Cancer stellium. I know all about the watery waves and having to ride the current and swim the seas and do all the things with the water. But we are predominantly water. And I find it quite interesting that the script that we have been sold for years, a major component of that script is that we always need to be fighting for something. We always need to be trying for something. We always need to be making something happen. And from my personal experience, this was the way that I operated my life, I would say well into my mid-30s. I literally had the thought process that if I wanted something, I have to go and get it. I have to go make it happen. Because honestly, that was my life path. That's what I did when it came down to my schooling. I remember sitting in high school and I realized that as much as I loved music, I was like a big music nerd. When I was in, honestly, like when I was growing up altogether, because my family were musicians. I grew up in a very singing family. Like they literally, I think like my uncle had like a record deal. Like literally, like I came up in this world where music was everything. And I had a voice. And so anytime I could sing, I would sing. I would perform at, any school event I could go to. I would perform, for the church choir. I would perform in talent shows. I was doing all this singing and making sure that the world could hear my beautiful voice, because in my brain, I was going to be like Brandy and Monica and have a singing career. That's what I was going to do, right? So one day, I want to say it was maybe like sophomore, junior year in high school, it dawned on me that that singing career was not going to happen, okay? Your girl could sing, but your girl couldn't sing to that extent. And quite frankly, there's a lot of people who could sing, and I didn't know the ins and outs of the music business. I mean, who did, in 1998, but not to go into a tangent. I realized that I wasn't going to become this singer. So I was like, crap, I need to do something. I need to find a way to not fail my family and to not be embarrassed. So let me start preparing for college applications. I am dead ass serious, y'all. Like this was literally my mindset. So I put that intention out there, and I got accepted into a program that basically taught high achieving kids how to score well on the ACT and the SAT, what colleges I could potentially look at. I worked my ass off. Like I literally said, this is my full-time job. I was cheerleading captain. I still sung in 3 choirs actually. And I made it happen. I hustled. I did whatever it was that I needed to do to make sure that I got into a good school so that I wouldn't embarrass my parents, because I was like, crap, this singing thing is not going to work for me. So get to the college, I accomplished that, right? And I'm coasting through college, and then I realized, oh crap, it's time for me to graduate, or it's going to be time for me to graduate in another year or so. What am I going to do? So I said, listen, I can't see myself getting a job right out of college. I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. But I had a mouthpiece. I could argue anybody down, and I was a political science major with a sociology and women's studies minor at Vanderbilt. So I said, listen, we're going to go to law school because I think that this makes sense for me. So I start hustling to get into law school. I start studying nonstop for the LSATs. I start, tweaking and making sure that I had like this awesome mission statement. I literally do all the research to figure out, okay, what schools does it make sense to graduate with? To apply to, because at that point my GPA wasn't super high, but I understood my talents, right? Like I still had like a 3, like I think I graduated cum laude, but it wasn't like a 4.0. And so I'm like, okay, can we go to Harvard? Can we go to Penn? Well, I like DC, so let's try to go to law school in DC. So I made that shit happen, okay? And got to law school, had to learn law school, had to learn the ins and outs of that. Then I realized, oh crap, I need a job. I had tried all these different types of jobs. I had tried public service. I tried politics. I tried working at a law firm. I had previously clerked for the Arkansas Supreme Court. Like I tried all these things, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to find a job. So I start hustling, right, to figure something out. So my whole life, honestly, was do without a lot of the I guess, mental presence and the spiritual presence necessary to create life easily. Okay? So when I say go with the flow, I'm not saying that we can just not do anything, that we can just sit around and just let life happen. You still have to work at and put some effort into the things that you want and you desire in life. But the intention behind what you are doing is super important. And that's not something that we're taught. We're taught to worry. We're taught to have a fear-based mindset. We're taught to think of all the circumstances that could happen if the desired result doesn't happen, right? And we don't understand that whatever type of energy that we're operating in, whatever type of emotional energy we are encompassing when we do the thing, that is the energy that we're putting out into the universe, and that is the energy that we are receiving back. And we do not understand that because we're not taught that. We're taught, hey, there's a script, there's something you're supposed to do, there's a way in which that you are supposed to live life, and you have to go get it. And if you don't go get it, like, you're just gonna be messed up in these streets, right? So there is a difference between surrendering and just not doing anything. And I am really talking about the art of surrendering. I am talking about the art of letting go once you have put the intention of what it is that you want to create out into the universe. We, like I said before, we have this tendency to hold on to just things that, quite frankly, don't serve us in this process. And I think that sometimes we high achievers, we mistake divine flow with laziness. And I am talking to myself, okay, when I talk about this, because there are times when it's difficult for me to sit back and rest. There are times when I feel bad about sleeping in an extra hour or two, knowing that I work 40 hours a week, knowing that I have pets to take care of, knowing that I am, creating this huge empire to help people. And I have to remember that rest is important, and surrendering to the process and surrendering to the universe is so crucial. When you start asking you to trust yourself, when you start trusting yourself and trusting God and trusting the things that you've put out there, I think that that's when the magic happens. That is definitely when the magic happens. I just mentioned that I have pets, and I recently adopted 2 cats. They were on, or their owner rather, was on TikTok, and she made a post talking about how she couldn't take care of them anymore because her allergies were bothering her. And I didn't want the cats to die. Like, I didn't want the cats to go out on the street. I do consider myself to be a bit of a cat person. I haven't had a cat in years, but I said, you know what? I'm going to adopt these 2 sisters. They're 10 years old. Their names are Giselle Penny and Sasha Pringles. So their given names are Pringles and Penny, but I added Sasha and Giselle to the names because I wanted to channel a little bit of Beyonce Knows Carter. I thought it was cute. So even going with the flow with these cats, because in my brain, I knew what I was going to do. I had a plan. I said, these cats are going to come here. They're going to abide by this. They're going to act this way. They're going to do the things that I tell them to do. And I don't know why I was thinking this. I mean, I've had cats before, but in my brain, I'm like, this is my house. And I love you, beautiful ladies, but these are my house and my rules. And to a certain extent, it's still my house and my rules, but I've really had to allow surrender in this process. I've really had to learn them. I've had to learn myself, like, how do I operate with not just 1 cat, but 2 cats? Like, how do because I put the intention out there. I remember last year I was kind of casually looking for cats or a cat. And that never came into fruition. But when the time was right, the universe, God, source delivered to me. And so now I have these two beautiful ladies, and I am learning the lesson of flow all over again. So I would say this. God, source, universe, God is going to give you moments in your life or opportunities in your life where you have to flow, where you have to embrace the process. And I want to make it clear that we are designed to do that because we're made predominantly of water. This world contains a crap ton of water. We're predominantly water, and water is literally the strongest element. But you can't accomplish what you want to accomplish if you're constantly trying to swim upstream. Swimming upstream will get you killed. And I know that may be like a very harsh analogy, but it is a worthy analogy because it's a reminder that we are designed to live life. And as much as we can create life, we have to allow that creation to happen. And part of the way that we allow that creation to happen is by letting go and surrendering into the process and breathing into the process. It's truly a beautiful thing. So yeah, so that's my message for today. Just a reminder that, we're not supposed to be forcing it like that all the time. That's not how we're supposed to be living. We are supposed to be in divine flow. And I hope this beginning of Cancer season treats you well. That's all for today. I'll talk to you all soon. Mwah.